You're moving out of your house. You have a fantastic interest rate that you hate to give up. You think that the market right now is a little flat and you'd like to get a little bit more out of the sale. And so you're considering the option of either renting it out versus selling it now. That is a super common consideration that we get a lot of questions about from clients. So we're going to touch on the 4 factors that we use to help our clients determine whether it makes sense to hold it or to just sell it and take those proceeds to do whatever you want to do with it after it's sold. So the first consideration is, does your property make a good rental? And a great way to look at this is just reverse engineer this and ask yourself, I'm an investor, I'm looking for a rental property. Would my house that I currently have that I'm considering renting out, would it make a good investment property? And if the answer is absolutely not, then that's a factor that you need to take into consideration. If you have a luxury property, very unique, a lot of upgrades, and it may not fetch the return from a rental perspective, that's another consideration to make underneath that factor of, is it a good property to have as a rental? The second is, can you emotionally detach from your property? Maybe you've raised a family in this house, you've taken great care of this property, the pride of ownership is evident throughout your property. Beautiful garden, beautiful rose bushes. Unfortunately, from a rental perspective, number one, you typically don't get the value out of that as you would if you were going to sell it. And second is, a tenant just doesn't have the attachment to the property as much as you do as the owner. So whatever upgrades that you put into it as part of the enjoyment of the property, number one, are not going to equate to additional rents. And number two, may not be in the same condition when it does come time for you to sell if it was a rental. So that's another factor to take into consideration. Third is going to be, do you have the financial reserves to handle any repairs necessary along the way? Things break in houses. You may need to pay for a hot water tank. You maybe need to pay for a furnace. So do you have the financial reserves necessary to maintain the property in its current condition? And then fourth is, do you plan to sell the house in the next 12 months? Is that a rigid plan that if you rent it out now, it's a very short-term rental for 12 months and then you're just going to turn around and sell it? If that's the case, and that's super common, and it's very common in a market that we're in, right? Because right now we're in a flat market, maybe a little bit of appreciation, but we're talking low single digits appreciation. And maybe you can't get the funds out of the sale that you were hoping to get. And so you're just thinking, you know what? I'm going to wait. I'm just going to wait till the market corrects and then I'm going to sell. Here's the challenge with that, is that if you put a tenant into the property, when you get that property back ready to sell, you're likely going to have to refresh it, carpet, paint, things like that. Whatever gain that you've gotten from the single digit appreciation, that low single digit appreciation, is probably going to be eaten up in whatever refreshments you need to make in terms of repairs to that property. So by the time you take that in consideration, it's kind of a wash. So we generally recommend that, hey, if you're rigid on wanting to sell in 12 months, regardless of what the market does, then we'd recommend just selling now because we have no idea what the market's going to do. Now, we have plenty of clients that have gone in with that idea and then they've ended up keeping it as a rental because it does make a good rental, it does make sense, and it's cash flowing for them and they've got a great rate on their property. So they end up changing their plans. But if you are rigid that in 12 months I'm going to sell, we'd recommend just go ahead and liquidating that property now. So on our website, you will see there is a rental analysis that pulls all the comparable properties around you, so you can see a range of what properties similar to yours sell for. We also have a rent versus sell calculator, so you can actually plug in your mortgage information, and it'll give you a return on that investment over whatever time period you give it. So feel free to use those. And then we are a full service real estate sales and property management company. We'd be happy to sit down and go over your options, and then ultimately you decide what makes sense for you financially and for your family. I'm Doc at Cobalt Property Management. If we can help in any way, please reach out to us at rentcobalt.com.